Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Rosie here, and I play Dead by Daylight so you don't have to. It's not even in the game for one fucking chapter. MMR is not even here for one fucking chapter. The top 5% balance promise is not even here for one chapter. And what do we get, ladies and gentlemen? I ask you, what did we get today? When you read this, what were you thinking? What did we get? It's actually kind of interesting what we got. We got here the biggest mid-chapter update possibly in Dead by Daylight history. The only argument you have since I've been playing is the God Loot changes from, 2020, last year? So this is at least the biggest mid-chapter update in over a year. Debatably the biggest mid-chapter update of all time in the history of the game. So, my question is, how are you still going to fight me on MMR? If you do not think that MMR is directly responsible for these changes, I have to ask what you're doing. I have to ask what you're playing. MMR has been fucking great for the game so far, okay? It's been just fucking great. This is completely because of MMR. The changes we're getting here, and the future changes, I heard Legion's changes are coming Monday. I don't know if that's just a rumor, if that's all but confirmed. What we are getting here is solely because of MMR and top 5% balancing. If you like these changes, you best be thanking the MMR system and apologizing to me and fucking shitting on Scoot. Because as much as Scoot wants to go, oh, well, these changes are so good, bro. Yeah, MMR is what got you these changes. A good matchmaking system is what got you these changes. Top 5% is what got you these changes. The balancing around the top 5% has already got us 2 killer reworks that were 100% going to be needed, as well as probably the biggest selection of perk changes ever. And more to come. And more to come on Monday. Like, what can I say, people? The data's coming in. Incredible. Absolutely incredible that this is still even a conversation. The MMR system's fucking great, okay? It's still technically too early to be completely 100% rejoicing and celebrating, so I don't want to give off the impression that that's what we're doing here. Monday and then the subsequent changes after that have to continue to be just as good as this. But what did I say a few videos ago? The next steps for these devs are the most important and will show us the cards in their hand. It will show us a peek at the cards in their hand. They showed us a peek at the cards in their hand. What did I say was one of the most important steps going forward? A spirit nerf. A nurse and spirit nerf, which I think we're getting both in this patch, actually. So they have continued to make every correct decision. Like, how do we not think they're serious about this yet? I don't know if Monday is going to be the more Survivor favorite changes, and there's actually a lot of killer changes here and Survivor buffs here. I think Survivors actually win the patch. But the changes that I'm seeing here are more in line with the top 1%. Like let's go. I think that's time to we actually go through it. Developer update. We're back with another developer update, a series of blog posts outlining some of the upcoming changes Dead by Daylight. You read that correctly. This is part 1, and there's so much to cover. We're past out halfway through. Killer updates. Trapper. Starting things off with a bang, we've made a series of small changes to the Trapper. So, did you know the number of bear traps that spawn each map is random? 4 or 6 bear traps at random. That's no longer how it works. 6 traps will always spawn in, not including the traps that you load and carrying. So, from now on, you will always have 8 traps in the game because of his other buff. Trapper will be able to carry 2 traps at the start by default. This will get you up and running quicker without relying on add-ons. So he has lost the need to run a bag base. Finally. Okay, so now the character will now have 8 traps every single match, as opposed to having 5. the minimum 5. And so if you bring, they said that the bag add-ons got tweaked. We'll have to read those again. Having more traps is great. Would be nice to finally some of the we've done a pass to some of the least used add-ons and either increase their effects or remove their downsides or give them the effects entirely. So let's read what we got here. Tension Spring. A bear trap resets 2 seconds after a survivor escapes from it. Not too horrible. I mean, you can actually kind of loop the same thing. Like if you like get to somebody and then they escape a trap, and like you're there at this tile, they can't just loop the tile with like you don't have to go reset that trap again. So that's not horrible. I don't know if that's worth a purple though. But it's interesting. Trapper Sack. All bear traps that are carried at the beginning of the trial instead of spawning in. So you get all 9 of them. But they can't be picked up. So once you place them down, that's where they are. I'm assuming you can reset them. But once you make a decision on where they go, that's just where they are. This is actually an interesting add-on. Because if you can, like, section off the map and correctly and actually use this add-on effectively and you're smart with it, you can actually get the traps where they need to go. I think this is going to be a challenging add-on to, like, work with, but if you can actually make it work, the early game that it saves you can actually be very, very, very good. Because you don't have to do the early game. The fact that you don't have to do the early game is probably worth any downside that you can possibly have to undergo. People say that should be base. I still agree that it probably should be base, that you should just carry everything. But the fact that you're getting it as an add-on means you can kind of work with the idea just a little bit. And maybe they'll buff this in the future to just be that. They obviously are erring on the side of caution again. Which, I mean, I still don't get that philosophy of erring on the side of caution, who is probably, on this character, who's probably one of the worst characters in the game. If he's not the worst, he's the second worst. But, so I still don't get that on the side of caution, but, like, we'll see what that does, and if they decide to tweak it in the future. So, all in all, we'll have to read these add-on passes to see how much the character got. Like, we can sit here and speculate, but, like, fact is, like, we're not going to know how good or better or worse some of these killers are until we get in there and read what they actually did. So Ots Darva admittedly might be helping some of us as he, on Tuesday, as we read the PTB, I think he will probably have a video up first detailing all the changes. That's admittedly the one thing he's good at. So I'd be on the lookout for that video. Spirit. The Spirit has been a strong killer since her release. That's not even true. She was weak on release, and they had to buff her. But with that in mind, we've made some changes to aim to increase her skill ceiling whilst also giving survivors counterplay. Okay, so I don't know if people have seen my other videos or my stance on this. There are 2 characters that need sacked for 115 balance to exist. The game ideally needs to be balanced around 115 keystone characters. Not the bottom of the barrel, not the Nurse and the Spirit, but the keystone characters. Nurse and Spirit are viable is just not an excuse anymore. Like, I don't hate that they're gutting this character. Because, is she gutted? Mixed opinions. We'll have to see, bruh. We'll have to see when we get in there. There are certain situations where knowing where she is, which is kind of what this buff is, doesn't help you. And there's some situations where it might. So, I think the problem with analyzing her right now is that it's hard to tell which situation is which when you don't have the visibility on her. Okay? Now, maybe people that really, really, really understand her to an extreme degree will be able to, like, have a bigger, more educated guess, but I still think it's all hypothesis and speculation at this point, especially since we don't know what the add-ons are. Okay? So you can kind of predict how, if her 1v1's going to be slightly worse, but we're not going to know the full extent of the character's problems or strengths and weaknesses until these add-ons are revealed, because her add-ons are a really big part of her kit. So, if we don't know what they do, or that that you're not gonna know about how strong or weak she is. So let's read this. When close to the spirit's husk, the survivors will not receive any indication that the spirit is phase walking. Originally, this was intended to be a fun mind game. Is she using the power or is she faking it? Though in practice, it often doesn't feel that way. The lack of feedback forces you to make a guess and hope it pays off, which can be great when it works out, but it can also feel awful when it doesn't. Any survivor within 24 meters of the spirit will now hear a directional phase sound that lets you know whether she is phasing or not phasing and gives you a rough idea of where she's coming from. The spirit's footsteps will now kick up dust while she is phasing. Keen survivors may be able to pinpoint where she is, but tall grass and other obstacles may make it difficult. So you get a directional sound as well as dust, okay? This isn't like... I think this is, these aim to add more skill into playing as and against the spirit and reduce reliance on coin flips, and when you make a guess and hope it pays off. We've done a pass on some of her add-ons to make them more in line, to make the lesser... Okay, so... Is she gutted? Here's what I think here. When you... What this seems to be doing to me right now as I read this, if I'm a survivor camping the pallet, okay, and I see the dust coming one way, you kind of know which way to drop the pallet. You can kind of theoretically keep track of her almost the entire time. This is a bad description of this nerf, because it says the spirit's footsteps will now kick up dust. What is that, every couple seconds? How do you get the directional phase sound? Do you get that sound the entire time, or is it every few seconds? Because right now, I think the one of Otz's ideas was she fades, she comes back into existence every few seconds so you can see her. If this is like completely the entire time you get this while she's phasing, you can theoretically keep track of her the entire time. Okay? If you can keep track of where she is the entire time, that doesn't sound very good for her. But keep in mind, there are also situations like where some of these weaker tiles where you can get locked into animations where knowing where she is might not save you. Okay, so those are the two extremes. Okay, I think as we work with this and the survivors get good at it, because when it starts in when the game starts up and the survivors are like they have to learn these new tools. Okay, so like they might not feel much different at first, but once the survivors know what they're doing here, I feel like a good survivor is going to be able to keep track of her the entire time. How much that negates the power, I don't know. I guess it would depend on the tile. Or, because the problem is when she's phasing, she goes fast, okay? That's one of her biggest strengths as a character. When she's phasing, she goes fast. So even if you know which direction she's coming from, you know, it might not save you to, like, because if you're trying to transition, I think she's still going to be good at catching the transitions at dead zones and stuff, but I don't know how she's going to be able to play around some of these tiles now, especially some of, like, the long wall jungle gym tiles. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. And then, they also did the add-on pass to her. So, these are new, like, let's read these add-ons. The Wakizashi Saya. During the haunting, use the active ability button to return to the husk and end the haunting. What does that do for you? It's basically what she has now as, it's basically her ability to, like, fake it. So they gave her ability to, like, fake the haunting as a purple. So that kind of element is still there on a purple add-on. So interesting add-on choice there. This next one here looks pretty bad though. When the haunting ends, the spirit's husk explodes, and any vault locations within 4 meters are blocked for 5 seconds. That could say injured, and it would still be bad, but it doesn't do that. Oh no. That could say injured, and it would still be bad. But the fact that it says 4 seconds, and it's just specifically vaults, I don't think that's going to be good. Maybe its design feels like it's supposed to punish those people that are gonna be double back, but there's gonna be no reason to double back anymore if you can track where the fuck she is. Okay, so I don't know about her. It's hard to like see what this is going to do in 100% because I've heard mixed opinions. She's still A tier. I've heard both. She's still A tier and she's gutted. I think when you hear both of the extremes, it's likely that it's gonna come together somewhere in the middle. I'm predicting B tier. However, if they maybe Keystone, she could possibly be Keystone after this. But I'm worried about her map pressure. One thing that's completely gone is her ability to throw Swift into disarray. Swift now has enough information to know what she's doing at all times, which is why I thought she was the best character in the game, because she could cause miscommunication amongst Survive with friends that Nurse couldn't do. Okay? But now that's impossible. She can't do that anymore. The survivors have too much information. So throwing Swift into disarray is out. So like even like Nerf 1 would have made her no longer the best character in the game. Probably. But the fact that she's getting even more from that, and the 1v1 is getting hit, means that she's definitely worse than Twins now, and she's definitely worse than Blight. So she's not in the top 3 anymore, just based off what we're reading here. How far she falls specifically is just going to be what the rest of the nerf is. Is her map pressure getting cut down? Are they going to nerf those duration and speed add-ons, which will cut down that map pressure? If you lose that critical map pressure and then she becomes more restricted by her 110 movement, that's going to send her even further down the tier list, okay? Because if she's more restricted by 110 movement, you ain't going to be better than the shit slinger. Because I'm telling you right now, this kind of still using information to do a kind of a guessing game. That is not going to be more lethal than the shit slinger, or the Huntress for that matter, or what the Wraith is doing now with his very survivor focused control with the kind of the dissection, the methodical dissection that Wraith does. She just feels like she's going to be trying to like consistently win this tug of war between the survivors that the other killers don't do. She's playing tug of war while the Wraith is actually controlling what's going on. Okay, so I don't think she's going to... I don't know. Her future is very, very bleak. That being said, though, I don't give a shit. And here's why. We can fix her later. If she turns out that this is way too much and she's horrible, we can fix her later. I'm not worried about her right now. I'm worried about these Keystones. We got to get these Keystones up to viability. We need to create more viable characters first. Now, I'm glad that she's getting nerfed, because I'm hoping that this will wake people up to MMR being good. Hey, look at this. Look at what we just nerfed. The top 5% are using this killer, are they? Well, look at this. Look at her kill. This is the killer that probably has the highest kill rates at top 5%. Look at that. Gone. Done. She's gone. Top 5% probably had her as the highest killer, so gone. And the top 5% probably had Trapper as the lowest killer, so he gets the first buff. Is this making sense to everybody now? They hit one at the top and one at the bottom in the same patch with like literally like 2-3 months of it. Like, not one even a month. MMR's been in the game for like, what, 2 weeks? And they're already doing this? Insane. Killer add-on updates. What is moderately? How much is tremendously compared to considerably? If you ever... So they're updating the descriptions, making it clear how much they're doing, okay? So they're gonna make it way more clear on what the items mean. I mean, if you're good, you already know this shit, but Entity Education just lost a job, but that's okay. I don't watch him anyway. While designers were going through hundreds of killer add-ons, one by updated descriptions, they also noted there were a few changes as well. There are far too many to list here. I wish they would just list them, but we can make some educated guesses, okay, based on who they're doing here. Hillbilly, I'm hoping they gave him another pass to make some of these add-ons better. That stupid shine the flashlight one on them, I hope is gone. Billy doesn't need any nerfs. If they nerfed anything on Billy, that's a mistake. Nurse, they're probably getting rid of those fucking range add-ons, which I hope they are, because it will nerf her as well. It will nerf the 2 strongest characters in the game in one patch. it will nerf the 2 double S's in one patch. If Nurse loses those range add-ons, her map pressure will be significantly reduced as well. So, good start on nerfing her as well. Myers, he's definitely losing his tombstones. I don't know if he's gonna lose Fragrant Tuft of Hair, but he's definitely gonna lose those tombstones. He's definitely gonna lose the purple one. The Eerie reduces his movement speed, so maybe he won't, but like that purple one is definitely leaving. Hag is definitely losing her Iridescent, where she can teleport across the whole map. And then maybe she's also getting a few buffs on some of those useless ones that like negate her ability to teleport, so I'm hoping Hag gets some buffs and some nerfs. Oni is definitely losing Scalp Top Knot, because that add-on is very good, and I can see them taking that from him. But I can also see Oni getting some buffs as well, because he has some add-ons that are useless, like the rate of charging of the add-ons, so I'm hoping they do that. Blight's going to take some nerfs. The Alchemist Ring is going to get nerfed, and then there's a few others that I can't remember off the top of my head that are probably going to get nerfed. So Blight's getting nerfed as well. The Wraith is probably going to lose All-Seeing Blood, I would imagine, if they're really balancing this around the top 1%. All-Seeing Blood provides a lot of benefit, and I can see them trashing that. Pig might lose some stuff, but I hope she gains a few things too. She might lose something like Tampered Timer, but hopefully they buff a lot of those fucking really bad ones that don't do much for her, like when she puts the traps on people and then they get status effects. I'm hoping those get changed. And then Ghostface, oh god, take your pick. He has only 3 add-ons that are good, so the sky's the limit with him. There's definitely a lot they could do there. Perk updates. Let's run through some of these perk updates. More options. Vigil. Nice and simple. We're increasing the recovery rate from 10, 15, 20 to 20, 25, 30. Vigil will now increase the recovery rate of the broken, exposed, and oblivious status effects as well, where applicable. In short, more situations where it's useful and faster recovery. Problem here. This stacks right now. This is what everyone's talking about. This perk stacks. I believe we calculated it in my server today. I believe if you have a Survive with Friends that stack vigils, it's like what? An 18-second exhaustion? I think it was, somebody said. I forget what it was. It was like an 18-second exhaustion. So, and Dead Hard does not deserve an 18-second cooldown. So, I think they just forgot to say that it's no longer going to stack. That's my theory. And then even if they're going to test it somehow in PTB, I don't see it going live. If we're really going to balance around the top 5%, I don't think that's going to go live. That's not making it. Dead Hard with a 20-second cooldown and Sprint Burst with a 20-second cooldown, that is not going live 100%. I really don't see that happening. So I'm hoping they clarify that maybe on Monday. But there's also another possibility. This is the less likely one, in my opinion. But the most likely one is that they just forgot to fucking say it's not stacking. The less likely one, but also one to consider, is that they're about to just to nerf the shit out of the exhaustion perks on Monday. If this is the survivor buffs, and then Monday are the killer buffs, for mostly on these perks. If they nerf the shit out of the exhaustion perks on Monday, and then like maybe exhaustion has like an 80-second cooldown for exhaustion perks now. If then all 4 members of your Swift stacked it, it would be like a 32-second exhaustion. So basically what it is now, but everybody has to give up. The Swift has to give up 4 perks to retain their exhaustions at a reasonable time. That again, that's the less likely one. I think they just forgot to say it's not stacking, but it does make me nervous because an 18-second cooldown of exhaustion perks cannot come into Dead by Daylight. So keep an eye on Vigil. Babysitter, another small tweak. Rescued survivors will now receive a boost for 8 seconds, in addition to not leaving scratch marks. I don't know what that means. It's probably like a 107%, like a hope boost. But maybe it's a bigger boost. If it's like 110, 120, maybe if they move 115 for 8 seconds, that still would be pretty big. So, it's still not going to be that good, though, in addition. It's not going to be that good. For the people, this is an interesting buff. We're decreasing the duration of the broken status effect from 90 to 60 seconds. They're shaving off a whole half minute of broken from For the People. That's an interesting buff. Insta-heal is already fucking powerful, but if this could potentially create a very annoying perk. Even when it came out, I said this perk was potentially very game-breaking. So the fact that it's getting quite a big buff here is actually kind of scary. I would also keep an eye on it. Retribution. Previously, Hex Retribution would only make a survivor oblivious if they cleanse a dull totem. Now interacting with any kind of totem makes them oblivious, and the aura reading once a Hex totem is cleansed in 15 seconds. Okay, so there you go. It's not going to help you very much. The perk is still garbage. Blood Favor. The perk shipped out with very safe conditions, so it didn't get out of control. Upon reflection, we feel comfortable removing some of these restrictions. Blood Favor no longer has a cooldown, and will also activate upon special attacks as well. Not really going to help the perk, I don't think, unless maybe you could, like, do something with Legion's Feral Frenzy. Maybe you could stab him with Frenzy, trigger a Blood Favor in order to, like, proc a place to stop. And maybe you could, like, stab the deep wounded person again. I don't know, but that would trigger a speed boost. I'm spitballing here. There's some utility you could do there. Maybe you could, like, if you get, like, a cornered Killer Shack as Pyramid Head, and then you punishment them, they could potentially force an early pallet drop on the Killer Shack. Maybe combining it with the demo add-on to, like, reduce your cooldown on Shred could do something. It maybe save the best for last in general. A Hex Blood Favor, save the best for last build could be gimmicky. Maybe you could run it with Ruin and Undying. Ruin, Undying, save the best for last, Blood Favor. That could be cute. But these are all gimmicks. None of this is viable, but I'm just kind of spitballing what you could potentially do with Blood Favor now. Third Seal. We've added special attacks to the Third Seal, more practical on killers that focus on dealing with their power. Third Seal's still a shit perk, so it doesn't matter. And then they Thrill the Hunt some love by extending the Blessing speed as well. Keep an eye on that with the Boon Totems possibly getting announcement on them on Monday. So we'll see about that. I'm still really worried about the Boon Totems as a mechanic. And then the item character kill switch. Basically, if something breaks in the game, they can flick it off without an update. So that's actually pretty good quality of life update. So there's still a lot more to come, but this is a huge fucking patch. Okay? And remember, this is supposed to be where Nemesis gets a buff as well. And apparently Legion's gonna get a few things. I think that's just a rumor. But Nemesis could be getting something. Legion could be getting something. The Boon Totems could be coming in, as well as even more perks being nerfed and buffed. So, what in the hell is causing this mentality? Why in the hell are we now getting the biggest fucking mid-chapter of all? Why is this happening now? Why is it happening? MMR is why it's happening. These changes are because of the fucking matchmaking. It's because of MMR. They're getting high-level stats enough to do changes like this. You like these changes? Thank MMR for them. And these are changes that Scoot and his clowns have fucking stifled. This is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. If they keep going in this direction, this game is on the road to improvements. A lot of these could be buffs. Like we could be getting buffs for Myers with his add-ons as well, because he's got that fucking family of the jewelry box family that's useless. For every add-on you think that could be going away, there's probably just as many that can be getting buffed. Okay, now again, they didn't say anything here. So it's possible that they're really just going through and cleaning out the ones that need to go, like the iridescents that do need to go. It's possible these are a majority of nerfs. However, I would like to reiterate again that even if they nerf all of these killers' iridescents, like Myers' tombstones and fucking Nurse's distance, they are nerfing non-keystone things. Okay? So I'm not even that concerned if something like Blight's Ring is getting nerfed, because we need to focus the game on the 115 keystones. If the devs want to knock out some of the things that are getting in the way of collecting consistent 115 keystone data, I'm okay with that. I'm sure that they have enough data to work with already, But like, if they want to get all of the player base getting away from the Hag Iridescence and the Oni Scout Top Knots and all this shit, they want the 115 fundamentals to be a bigger priority of Dead by Daylight. There is a lot of shit that needs to go. Okay? On the killers and the survivor side. Okay? So I'm hoping we're going to get some survivor changes, but we are cleaning a lot of shit out. The pool filter has been turned on, and we are filtering a lot of garbage of a bygone old era out of the fucking game. I am pleased. I am very, very happy with what I just read. And I'm hoping I read something just as good on Monday. This is the best update we've gotten since the God Loop updates. Spirit, all the nerfs included. I am pleased as fuck with the first update from MMR. And God bless MMR. God bless MMR. Fuck Scott Jund. Because a patch like this does not come with rank-based matchmaking. This is all 100% MMR and the new stats that they've acquired in the past few weeks. 100%. I'm getting the hell out of here, lads. GG's. Let me know what you think about all this shit in the comments below.